You're listening to Funny Peculiar with Jeff Downs.
Welcome to another episode of Funny Peculiar Podcast. Thanks for downloading, thanks for sharing. This week I've got another brilliant guest. It's a magician, a street magician, and he's called Bunny Ron. Originally from Bradford in the UK, but moved to Australia. A brilliant story. Check him out. He uses Instagram and Facebook a lot. So he's Bunny Ron, B-U-N-N-Y, and then Ron, R-O-N. But on Instagram, he is Bunny_Ron7. So track him down. Loads of videos on Instagram and tricks. But without further ado, Bunny Ron. So, welcome to another Funny Peculiar Podcast. And we've got an international angle this week because I'm talking to a magician down under in Melbourne, Australia. So a big welcome to Bunny Ron.
Hi guys.
Hiya, how you doing? You all right?
I'm alright. How are you?
Not too bad. And it's like we're at the ends of the extreme here because it's very late in the UK for me, but it's very early in the morning for you in Melbourne. And just to say as well, you're on Instagram as well. So let's get out that way because you're on Facebook and Instagram, Twitter. Is that about right? You're on all the big ones?
I don't think I use Twitter that much, but I would say Instagram is my main page.
Yeah. And that's been really popular for a lot of people, especially for a lot of people I interview, burlesque, drag queens, freak acts, circus acts. Everybody uses Instagram because I think it's so good for images and videos rather. And you do have quite a few videos, don't you, on your Instagram page?
Yeah, I think it's the fastest and easiest way to get your work across a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it's actually a good platform to practice or just share your knowledge or any skills that you have with the world.
Yeah, and to get it out.
So,
yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I think it's a good start for anyone who wants to start to kind of like pursue a career in performing. So, yeah.
And it is because, I suppose in a way you have an instant audience. There's no TV producer to get through. That's it. It's a bit like YouTube or whatever. But Instagram just seems to, at the moment, have that. Everybody loves to just jump on Instagram.
Oh yeah, totally. Because it's kind of like you got 60 seconds to tell a story, and I guess it's the way you tell the story, and people gonna either like it or dislike it. But I think you're just gonna go through it. At some stage, you're gonna have some negative comments, but I think if you just keep pushing harder and harder, you're gonna get out there and do great things.
Yeah,
and I guess people get paid for it.
Well, they do, and this is, I suppose, eventually what everybody wants is that sponsorship, that deal that you can get paid. So now, just to check on Instagram, you are, and it's Bunny. I think it's _Ron7. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So if anybody listening, put in Bunny _Ron, RON7, and you'll find him there. And I was just looking at. I was just chatting earlier to you, and I was saying, hey, that's a great stage name, Bunny Ron. I really like that. What's your real name? And you were just saying that is your real name.
Yeah, that's my actual name.
And what's the bunny bit?
It's kind of quite cool, isn't it?
It's a cool name. I love it. Where does that come from? What's the bunny bit?
So basically, when I was like 3 years old, whenever I used to miss Bugs Bunny, I would just cry a lot. So my dad was just kind of like, okay, we're just going to name him Bunny.
Okay, so you cry a lot.
That's where it comes from.
So when Bugs Bunny came on, or you cry at that?
Yeah, every single time I would miss that cartoon, so I would cry because I think it's kind of like a nice cartoon. So yeah.
Cool. And Ron is your surname. The origin. Okay. And Ron is your surname.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're actually originally from Bradford in England. But you moved. When did you move to Australia?
I just kind of like wanted to move out. I wanted to do a certain type of magic where no one in that particular country have ever done it. Like in the UK, like your origin, like Dynamo, he created that street magic, and he's very famous for that.
Yeah.
So I didn't want it to do it in the UK. I wanted to go somewhere else and do it. So I guess no one in Australia have done it yet. So I just kind of like wanted to create my own thing over here.
Yeah, and it was just something that was, and coming from Bradford, and just to say as well that is it your mum who's from Mauritius originally, and your dad's British?
Yeah,
Have I got that right? And then you moved to Australia, and so it's a new beginning. Really, it was just somewhere where you weren't known at all, and you could start doing your magic.
yeah. It's basically like you start from zero again.
Yeah.
I guess like it kind of like helped me a lot to find out what I really wanted to do and give me an idea of how I wanted to do it as well. So it kind of like worked out pretty well for me.
And when you literally, when you got to Australia, were you like, this is it, I need to either find a job or I just start performing now? And it was like you gave yourself a bit of a challenge to see how quickly you could start earning money as a magician.
Yeah, so basically, when I came to Australia, I kind of like just perform magic everywhere, on the street, in the shop, or any people I would meet, I would just do magic. So I kind of like got the vibe of like how the Australian people are and what kind of magic do I need to perform for the audiences.
Yeah, and how
it was kind of like it was just kind of like a risk that I had to take.
Yeah, and how different are the audiences from, say, the British audiences to Australian audiences?
Because in the UK or any countries in the Europe, this is a big thing. But whereas in Australia, fears are not that big, and performing for them, it's just kind of like very limited. It's not like in Europe, like you're gonna find every single magician in your theaters performing, even for like 20 or 15 minutes. You don't get that here.
So there's
it's
lots
kind of like very hard.
Okay, so there's lots of theatres in the UK and there's lots of shows you can do, but in Australia there's not many theatres, and you really have to, work out your own little gig wherever you can find it.
Yeah, exactly. And the theaters, that's kind of like the show that they put on is mostly what the locals like, so it's completely different.
Right, and what sort of shows do they have? Is it just standard stuff out there?
Yeah, pretty much just the standard stuff. I guess people enjoys movies more than theaters here.
Right, okay.
That's my opinion on it. I might be wrong, but that's how.
That's how the people vote, and they'll just by their feet, I suppose, walk into cinemas. So you had a bit of a challenge to sort of encourage people to come and watch your magic. So you did a lot of, and you do a lot of card tricks. I know you've said you do other stuff, but a lot of your videos involve card tricks. Just talk us through that. What did you start off doing? Was it very basic card tricks? Was that how you got into it?
I was walking down the street in London, and there was this street magician who gave me a kind of like I would say penny, and asked me to close my hand. And he snapped his fingers, and when I opened my hand, it turned into a chocolate. And at that moment, I was like, "How on earth did he do that?" That feeling that I got, I was like, I wanted to share that with other people. So basically, begged my mom to buy me a magic kit, but as every parent, my mom's a teacher, so she was like, "No, you're gonna have a degree." So I just went in my room, locked myself, and started practicing magic by myself. I would say in those, like, probably not YouTube because internet was not that famous, but I would say there was a little book that my cousin gave it to me. There was kind of like, I think,
okay,
15 magic tricks in it.
Right.
So
what was it called?
I kind of like learned.
Can you remember the title of the book?
No, because it didn't have any cover or anything. It was just kind of like a
basic little book.
Yeah. yeah, and I think it was just kind of like a small trick. So I basically learned all and started about it. And in fact, I kind of like got away from magic because I wanted to be a footballer, and I
Okay.
was playing for Man United Academy Football
Oh,
Club.
really? You've
So
that's
I
no,
kind
yeah.
of like,
Well, yeah,
yeah,
just that's massive up here. And for people that don't know and who might be listening, so Man United is obviously one of the big Premier League teams in the UK, but they're very global, and they have academies up in the or an academy up in the northwest. So you were actually spotted and scouted to play at the academy.
yeah, because I was like, like we people always are interested in football and always played football. So that's what I wanted as a career. But I think kind of like family tragedy kind of like lost it. And then because I was really sad about it, and then magic, that's where it came back to me and kind of like healed
Yeah,
everything. And I started loving it again. So I
yeah.
would say I started it again when I was like probably 20,
Okay.
20 to 21.
Yeah.
I got in like very seriously and started practicing like every day and uh,
And you just so every
trying
day
to get
you
a
just
few help.
every day you just kept
Yeah,
practicing and
every day
practicing. Yeah.
for 8 hours.
Really? And
Yeah.
how did you discipline yourself to do 8 hours a day practice?
There was no timing. It was more of kind of like obsession with it at that time because I was so obsessed with it that I was just enjoying doing it. I would
Yeah.
always have a deck of cards in my hand. Like I would walk on the street with a deck of cards in my hand everywhere would I go. So it was just like kind of like an obsession for me. I was really, really very obsessed with it. So it became kind of like super easy, and there was no like okay, that's my time schedule. I need to stick to it. It was just kind of like I just did it, and then when I was kind of like got bored to it, I would just go do something else, and then
It was so it was just something that you had to keep doing. It was in you that you just had to. I have to do this. It was just something that obsession was just in you already. Do you think?
yeah, it's just kind of like how badly you want one thing.
Yeah.
You just you're just gonna do everything that you can to get it.
And when you were building and building, do you remember your first show you did in Australia or on the street or what? You know, when you went out and go right, this is it. This is my first show. Can you remember that?
I think I was sitting in a cafe and just finished my breakfast, and there was these two girls who were sitting in front of me. And at that point, I didn't get into magic. It was just kind of like I was still heartbroken by the football thing. So
Yeah.
for some reason, there was a penny, and I started just because it all started with a penny when I was 7. So it kind of like got me back into it, and they were just kind of like, oh, you do magic. So I started just performing whatever I knew at that point, and they were blown away. So I was just, hey, this is something that back to it because the reaction I got was like absolutely fantastic.
This trick. There was these two girls in a cafe, and it was this penny trick, and it was the reaction you got off of them. Just suddenly, this felt like your big show, the first big show.
Yeah, it just felt like the spark just came
Yeah.
very spontaneously, like okay to do.
And this was something that you had when you said you were 6 or 7 that you first fell in love with magic, but you obviously went into a football slant and you just absolutely dedicated your football. And you said you had some
Yeah.
sort of bad family news, and then but you came back in love with magic, and so really because playing for Man United sounded like that's what you wanted to do. That was really your focus when you were young.
Oh yeah, yeah, totally. I was just like 24/7. I could just play, 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 play. Because I guess like that's what most of the kids do in the UK. They want to play for Man, and they want to be the best. And so
And what
that's
level
what exactly I was doing.
did you get into, like the junior team or the senior or however it works? Did you get quite high up?
Oh yeah, I did. I did.
And really
So
it was that close to were you there literally signing contracts? Was it that sort of level?
uh, yeah, it was kind of like very close. I would say it was very close because it kind of like really really affected me after that. So it was really close.
Yeah, yeah. So it's and then sort of and then of course Australia is the new beginning for you, and that's when you kind of find
Yeah.
magic again, and then this show in the cafe, and then what did you do straight after you just did that trick with those two girls? What were you thinking? It was like, this is it now I can be a full-time magician. This is it.
Yeah, because I guess the reaction helped me a lot as well because I kind of like forgot about my kind of like the reaction that I got when the first magic trick was done on me. So I kind of like forgot that, and then that's what bring the whole memory thing again. So I was like, yeah, that's the thing that was the first love. That's the thing I wanted to do. So I guess like that's the time to do it.
And now so you do you perform on a daily basis, and you'll go to into the streets and film yourself, or how does it work on a daily basis for you?
I would usually say so. Basically, I would now I kind of like just create my own version of magic because I've already learned like most of this basic thing that I had to learn. So I'm just kind of like working on new routines where it's kind of like it's gonna be in my own show now.
Okay. And when you say your own show, did you go to is there a theatre you'll go to perform, or you mean when you're filming stuff, or I take it you're booked as well to do events. Is that how you sort of earn as well? Do people want magicians at certain events, at corporate events?
So basically, what Dynamite did in the UK with the street magic, that he goes up to anyone, anywhere, and just performs. That's the kind of thing that I want to do here.
Okay. And he sort of he'll have a camera crew and a show. Are you trying to get? Do you have a cameraman that follows you around? Do you get it on Australian TV, or is this all early days?
I'm still working on it
Yeah.
because it's gonna be uh, a little bit of hard work, but I'll get there eventually. But my kind of like my take on it is just kind of like I walk up to a stranger, I just give them my phone, and they kind of like record it, being the audience, not like there's gonna be like three or four cameras, but actually like have all their expression or everything by the audience. So if one of the audience can take the camera and record it, I think like it makes more sense than having a crew that walks up to you and people just looks at you as if it's like, okay, you try to perform something.
Yeah.
So they kind of like have this guard where they kind of like, I don't know, kind of like put a distance between you and the audience. So I would rather just go up to someone and just talk to them, introduce myself, and give them the camera and perform the magic. So people who's going to be watching them at home, they going to feel as if they were the audience, the live audiences that they're watching it
Yeah.
live. Because yeah, that's what I want to.
Okay.
I want
got
to
it.
do.
It's not just card tricks that you use. You say you do other. You use other props. You use other implements for your magic.
Yeah, just like Rubik's cube, coins, rings, mostly any objects, I would say.
And something that you can just easily keep about your person, and then you can just bring it out of your pocket. Is that the idea? You're just not weighed down with lots of heavy props. It's stuff you can keep moving around with.
Basically like a ring. Most people wear rings, so I could just borrow that
Right.
and perform magic.
Yeah,
If anyone
right.
asks me anytime to do magic, and I kind of like want to give myself that a little bit extra of challenge where I don't have anything with me, but I still can perform magic.
Okay, and so something like a Rubik's cube, where you just sort of walk past a shop one day and see something like that and go, right, okay, that would I could do something with that. Is it that spontaneous?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Just something that's a bit unusual that, as you say, some people are familiar with. So, and you have, and as you say, so you use rings. So, and when you approach people, so you have absolutely nothing on you, and you'll just work with whatever is on them.
Yeah,
And
that's basically the idea of it.
okay, and can that go
Because
wrong?
nowadays,
Yeah, go on. Sorry, carry on.
like technology has advanced so much that people kind of like know that okay, you might be carrying a prop and it might be fake. But when you do something when it's like it's personal to them, like an engagement ring or wedding ring, it's kind of
Yeah,
like personal to that person. And then if you just take their ring and put it in a bottle, it's
yeah,
kind of like more powerful than taking your own ring and put it in a bottle because it's kind of like impossible for them because that's their own ring. So there's
yeah.
no way you could have manipulated it or did anything with it. So I guess like the magic is more powerful then.
Yeah, and it's quite an emotional attachment to them. So you've got them immediately. So
Yeah.
so if you go for something that's a keepsake, a ring, a necklace, they're immediately they're bought in on the trick. They're not going to go anywhere because I take it you've got hold of their ring or their wallet or something like that.
Yeah, because you want to give that experience that they're gonna remember you for the rest of your life. Because like you want to have a connection with them. So I guess like when they are involved into it, so there's more emotions and like the connection is stronger.
Yeah, and this is and so in a day's filming, or if you're spending how many hours will you spend just going up to people doing the tricks?
I usually kind of like I just don't walk around a lot. I would just basically be like if I'm hanging around with my mates or I'm just going out for dinner and I see an opportunity to do magic, I just do it.
You just do it
It's
there.
kind of like yeah, it's not like something I planned that okay, I'm gonna go today and just do magic. It's just kind of like uh the feeling is right, the moment is right, and I just feel like I wanted to do magic, I just do it.
And people are like receptive to that, and they will just, depending on where you are, they'll just go with it. Have you ever had an occasion where somebody doesn't want to be shown a trick, or you've had that an instant of they're like, no, get away from me, I don't believe in that, or something like that? Have you had some that happen?
Yeah, because it's like there are a few people who are skeptical.
Yeah,
And there was this one time I was performing magic for a group of people, and there was this one guy who was very skeptical, and he was just trying to be a pain in the ass, and he was just kind of like trying to ruin it. So the best thing to do is to involve that person into your magic.
yeah. And did you
So so
and
that
did you do
all the
that? And did you do that with him in that occasion?
yeah. So what I kind of like did was like I used him take his phone and ask him to if you believe me. He was like, no, I don't believe you. So I just kind of like took his phone, threw it in the river, and then ended up being in his backpack. So it was kind of like shocking for him.
Right. Okay. And he was and
Yeah. So I guess like the best way people can approach it is just like either you just ignore it and continue to do what you wanted to do, or you include that person so that he stops annoying you.
yeah.
But you're gonna find people who are like, oh, I don't want to see magic, or I'm not interested. And I guess it's just the way you pursue it. So it's like if you're like, oh, that's fine, and then just have a normal conversation with them, it might like later during that conversation they're open to it.
Yeah. And
Because some people are kind of like they're kind of like shy people. They don't want to interact with strangers, so they have this shield where they're like, "No, sorry."
and is who's the most who tends to go for it? Children, adults, men, women. Who blocks? Who just opens their eyes and goes, "Show me."
I would say a lot of people who are like 20 to 28, they would be very open. They would be friendly. They would be open. But I guess I have not actually experienced a lot of rejection when it comes to magic, because most of the people that want to perform to, they're actually very open to it. I guess it's the way you introduce yourself, and the first impression has a lot to do with it.
And so it's that first initial contact. You've got to try and grab them or convince them at least that you know what you're doing, or they're going to believe you. That's the essence?
Usually, if I go and I want to perform magic to anyone, I wouldn't go and say I'm a magician. I would just go and have a conversation with them, have this connection, and then I'm just gonna be like, oh, can I borrow your ring for a minute?
Right.
And then they would be like, oh, what? And I just go, I just want to look at it, and then you do it. So it's kind of like you do when they are like least expecting it.
Okay, so that's
The-
interesting. You don't say you're a magician in first contact, because that's
No.
almost flagging it up.
Yeah.
It's too obvious. You just start chatting to them and slowly get their confidence, and then you introduce the trick.
Oh yeah, totally. Because a lot of things can go wrong. Like if you already had a plan that you're gonna go up to this person and that's the specific magic that you're gonna do for them, innit? So and then the person just go like, oh, you're a magician. So you know what? This is my phone. Just put it in a bowl or just do something with my phone. So all of a sudden you're like, okay, what on earth do I do now? Because I had another thing in my mind. If you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
when you're when you're going to perform for someone, they don't know what's the trick. They don't know about it, so you're in control of the situation.
Yeah.
Whereas if they know that you're a magician, then they start saying, "Okay, do something with this object." I mean, that's great. If you have no restriction, you can do any magic. Then that's fine. But if you're like starting towards that path and you just started magic and you're gonna learn how to go up to strangers and perform magic, so it's gonna be a little bit hard in it. So that's kind of like the best way to approach it.
And is there a lot of setup involved with your trick? So you've got to just make sure certain tricks are primed, ready to go. So you need a little bit of time before you can approach people.
Usually no, not that much. I think there might be just kind of like one or two, but most of the thing that I do is just kind of like spontaneously. I can just do it with a borrowed card or anything.
And then you just go. And what do you? And this is when we discussed when you did your first show. What's your best show been? What's your best trick to date? What was the? You know, you got a group of people around you, and you went, "Yeah, that worked. That I got them all." Can you? Is there a recent sort of example of that?
I would say one of the things was like some of the drunk people. It actually worked very well on them.
Right, really?
But I guess it has to, yeah, because it has to be a mixture of like people who are sober and people who are drunk. Because like if everyone who's drunk watching you, they're not going to understand what on earth is happening in it. So if you have other people around it and then you perform for the drunk person, his reaction going to be super crazy because he's going to be twice as much believable to other people than a normal people would be. So
Yeah.
I guess the reaction you get is bigger and better.
So you don't want crowds too sober, but you don't want them too drunk. So somewhere in the middle is a nice mix.
Yeah, it's a nice mix.
And you've had that.
Because
Go on.
the simple coin vanish to kind of like a drunk person, it's an absolute miracle.
And they
It
can't
just
get
blows their mind.
Okay. And you've had that on a few occasions.
Yeah, I did. I did.
And once you do it, is there are they sort of are people desperate to hug you? Because that means then suddenly, my God, what this guy is just a god, a magician. And do you find that you get them, they want to know more, they want to see more?
Usually when you perform your first magic, people always want to see more. So I always kind of like, when I start any magic that I wanted to do, I started very low and then I ended on a very high note.
Yeah. And how?
So I kind of like know. I kind of like know that okay, this is what I'm gonna do, and then as soon as I kind of like hit the high note, I just walk away from them. That's the one thing I learned from Dynamo is just kind of like you do it and then just walk away because the reaction are real.
Yeah, yeah, and don't. If you've done well, I think in comedy we have a sort of saying that if you do a good 5 minutes, get off. If you do a bad 5 minutes, get off. It's just like once you've just hit your limit, just go. So if you've done a really good trick and it's the crowd have loved it, walk away because you're going out on a high.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And you so you're based in Melbourne. How much do you travel around Australia, or do you stay to Melbourne?
Right now I'm just staying in Melbourne because I'm kind of like working on 2 or 3 projects that I want to work on it. So I want to get this done first, and then I'm gonna start thinking about moving on.
Brilliant. And so, can you talk about some of the projects you're working on? Is this new tricks, new ideas?
It's a little bit secret because it kind of like is still like a work in progress.
No,
but I guess like pretty much sure like okay it's gonna happen, then I might be able to say a little bit more about it.
That's fine. That's fine. Well, we'll keep a lookout on your Instagram account. So there's no plans like David Copperfield to make the Sydney Harbour Bridge disappear or anything like that.
No.
That's old school magic now for something like what who are your favourite magicians? I mean, we've mentioned Dynamo, I suppose David Blaine. Who do you, somebody we might not have known?
I would say that I think every kid have grown up watching David Blaine.
Yeah.
And then it changed into Dynamo. But I would say in this day and age, there are quite a few magicians that kind of like I really like their work. You got like Shin Lim, and you have, I would say, there was this guy whose name is Bo, and he's from Australia as well. He's a very, very good creator.
Okay. Bo, and is there? I take it the movement in Australia is healthy. It's big. There's lots of magicians out there, and everybody's doing their thing.
Yeah. Actually, there are quite a few magicians who are actually really, really good in here. And I guess like a lot of teens as well, they're getting into magic, which is a very, very good thing, and they're very good at it. So I guess like by the time they're gonna be like 23 or 24, they're gonna be really good at it.
So I suppose you've also got to watch your back and keep on your game because the new talent's coming through.
Yeah, kind of, but I guess like my goal is kind of like a little bit different. So I just gotta have to work hard just for myself.
Sure. Well, it seems like, talking about how you were doing 8 hours a day, you really do work hard at it. And I think there's no secret sometimes. It is just hard work to get it right.
Yeah, basically there's no talent. It's all about hard work, I guess.
Brilliant. And I'll give you one final question. And thank you again today, Bunny, for chatting to us. It's been very interesting and listening about styles, and I'm speaking to lots of street magicians now, and it's great to hear your technique and style. But my last question is, who do you think I should have on the show next? Who do you think I should, or for a future episode, who do you think I should try and get hold of?
I would say there's a guy named Vincent. He's from Australia as well. He's from Sydney. Yeah. He's actually really good. Yeah.
Vincent. He's just called Vincent.
I might just be able to share his Instagram with you, and you can just kind of like inbox him, and
brilliant.
That would be great.
I'll try. And what sort of stuff does he do? Is he similar sort of street magic?
Yeah, he's actually like he's kind of like create a lot of his own stuff, and he's 18. He's competing in 2 World Magic Championship and everything. So I guess it would be a great chat with him.
Okay, so there are Magic Championships then, and have you competed in those?
Not yet, but I'm planning to.
You're planning to, so that's the big. So that's
Yeah.
and then that puts you up on a platform, and then you can develop from there.
Yeah, totally.
Brilliant. Well, listen, thank you for coming on the podcast today. Really appreciate it, and all the best for the future. And we'll make sure everybody, again, if you follow Bunny Ron, and it's Bunny_Ron7 on Instagram, on Facebook, as we said, keep an eye on Instagram because that's where he is. Bunny Ron, thanks very much for today.
Cheers, mate.
You've been listening to Funny Peculiar. Tune in next week. More great guests.
So there we have it. That was Bunny Ron. A massive thank you, and so much we covered there about street magic. So much was mentioned. So a brilliant episode. Again, catch him on Facebook. It's Bunny Ron, or on Instagram he's Bunny_Ron7. Anyway, thanks for downloading. Thanks for sharing. As always, more great guests coming, and keep it funny peculiar.